What it do, baby? It's Tyrik Wynn, and this is another episode of NJP, Navigating Journalism Podcast, and we are broadcasting from the National Association of Black Journalists Conference, NABJ, right here in Birmingham, Magic City, man, and this is so awesome, a great opportunity for Black journalists to come together, fellowship, learn, get some education. Also come to the career fair and find a job, and that's where we're broadcasting from. And I have a very amazing individual sitting next to me who is the General Manager at WJCL and President as well, WJCL-TV down in Savannah, Georgia. How are you, man? This is great.
Nice to meet you. Tyrik, it's always a pleasure to be around you in the presence of somebody who hustles so well, understands what the opportunities are in this industry, and it's just a real pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I want to kind of tell y'all how we met. So I did this thing called the NABJ short course a couple of years ago, and that was at North Carolina A&T, and Mr. Ben Hart was actually one of the mentors there, helping out with stories and stuff. So, and that's how we met. And we've been keeping in contact ever since.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the NABJ, the career fair you just referenced. You get to know people here who you will know for the rest of your career. And luckily for me, I've been in a management position, been able to be at the booth and look at people's reels and kind of see where they are in that moment. And I think that the thing that has been really helpful from my perspective with the people that I met is that I get to have an honest conversation with them while they're sitting there with me. And there's no reason to be embarrassed when I say, you probably need to work on this and work on that, because what I'm doing in the confines of something like this, it's a career fair where you really are looking at your career in the long term.
Yeah.
So we're building the perfect reel for you next time. Because right now, there's always something to work on. Even if you've got a really good reel, there's always something you can work on.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad you're on because you're actually the first executive that I've had on.
Oh,
yeah.
What an honor.
I'm very glad because I know like the viewers can learn a whole lot. I'm going to learn a whole lot from this interview and stuff, so I definitely appreciate it, man.
Great.
So let me ask you about this. So you're at WJCL in Savannah, right?
That's right.
President, General Manager. Within that position, right, what are some of the things that you do in that position for those that don't know?
So, as the general manager, my responsibility is to keep the FCC license. Okay. That's the number one thing. When I got the job, I didn't know that they would say that to me. The thing you have to do is not compromise the license. I don't know that people understand. TV stations don't own the airwaves. They own the company that broadcasts the content.
Okay.
The content has to be licensed to you by the federal government. That means you have to do all the things that are required, which is keeping up with the educational programming, making sure that what educational programming amounts to a lot of times newscasts and that kind of thing, but also children's broadcasting. You have to obviously balance the books as the general manager and the president of a company. It's a company. And all we're trying to do is stay in the black. Actually make money is probably the best way to say that. What we're trying to do is make profit. And so you have to do all the things that come with that. There are keeping the license means not offending people. Like, we're a federally licensed place, so you have to make sure that what we do is content that is good for the community and that the community is not going to protest you and take you off the air. All those things kind of work together. If people don't want to watch us, people don't want to advertise with us. Yeah. So you have to find the fine lines and the proper place for you to be as a TV station where you're providing what people want and doing things that people need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to ask you about that because I think like within this day and age that we're in right now, I think nowadays it's kind of a little easier to offend people. You know what I'm saying? So like, how do y'all like, because like, times are changing and stuff, people are kind of getting offended a little bit easier now than, before. So I guess how do you guys kind of like keep that intact,
I appreciate what you're saying. I think that it's that people have retreated into their own echo chambers. They're not offended so much as they're stuck in what they know, stuck in what they think. Yeah. And the beauty of what we do, we're a free broadcast for people to ingest how they will. We typically need to be facts first, I think, for as far as a news station. But you got to remember, when it's not news, it's Dancing with the Stars, it's The Bachelorette. Yeah. There are all things that might offend some corner of the viewership that we have. We can't worry about offending the corners. We have to make sure that the thing that is on television is appropriate. And appropriate is while some people think that's hard to manage, this really isn't. Just be in the middle of everything with things that people are interested in. And some of it will offend, and some of it will really make people happy. But if you're appropriate, you're in the middle of what people expect.
Got it. Okay, gotcha. So within your position, right? You've also you're also responsible for hiring too, right?
Yes.
Doing interviews and stuff like that. So tell me a little bit about this, right? Of course, I know you get tons of resumes, tons of emails about jobs and stuff like that. What are you looking for? Like, when somebody comes to you, what do they need to have together? You know what I'm saying? What type of experience do they need? What does that resume need to look like?
This is Savannah is like number 87 market in the United States. So we're going to get people who are in, typically when we're looking at our higher positions, like we have anchor positions where we're getting people who are maybe in their fifth job. We get people who are coming in who are going to be reporters and producers. This may be their first job. That is not typical of what it has been in history. But right now, the way things have done, what's interesting? We're doing this podcast right now. Mm-hmm. You're a really good example of this. People have found other ways to get to their goals. When I was coming up, TV was the only way that somebody like you would find their goal. Kind of technology had not caught up with you being able to go out, do a podcast, do all the other things that you do on your own. You couldn't have done that as easily as you can with the technology that we have now. Yeah. The broadcast had to go over the airs. Now the internet has changed that, so people can do a lot of things. So what we've got is a thinner pool of people who are really locked into doing that broadcast technology work. Mm-hmm. So we have people who are in the first job, where it used to be this would be a second or third job. Mm-hmm. The thing I want from people, me as a competitive person, is a self-starter. Somebody who, when they come to me, they have something specific that they do better than everyone else. You don't have to be better at everything than everyone else. You got to be better at something than everybody else.
I like that.
You got to be the best at what you do. And we'll fill in the blanks, because if I can bring 5 people together who all do different things, then in that 5, we'll find everything we need.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Gotcha. So for let's talk about resumes, right? What are some no-nos when it comes to resumes? I know there's a lot of things that people do. People put their addresses on resumes. People put their job at Chick-fil-A working on resumes. I mean, I'm pretty sure you've seen it all. So absolutely. What are some of the do's and don'ts?
I think you hit it on the head right there. Don't put me, if you're coming to me to be a reporter, or you're coming to me and you want to be a producer, why am I looking at your Chick-fil-A resume? Unless you've got a story you're telling me that absolutely there's a direct line from why that matters to this job. So keep the resume short. Keep it concise and purposeful. Mm-hmm. Make sure that in your resume there are no typos. Make sure that if you have a cover letter, it does not look like it's a standard cover letter that you've sent to several people. If you're going to go the mile, be the best at the thing you're doing. So back to what I was just saying, I get 1 million resumes. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to eyeball them. I'm going to look at the 3 jobs. If you've got 3 jobs, if you haven't had a TV job before, what's the resume going to have on it? Yeah. So you have to, if Chick-fil-A was the last job, you kind of have to put it there to show that you have a responsibility in your life, but be able to communicate why that's important to what it is that you're applying for. So I think that the key for resumes is brevity, specificity, and please do not have typos. Typos, if you made the typo, fine. Right? Yeah. If you type something and handed it to me, I totally understand the typo. Yeah. When you've decided to bring something to me or send something to me, and this is the way you've packaged it up, it's a red flag. It's bad news. Yeah. So I think that's the most important thing. Typos. There have been people who have had a typo. They put their address on there, and the address is spelled wrong. It's important.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Yeah, I definitely appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's so imperative that the viewers know this information, that way, when it is time to go apply for that first job or go apply for those next couple of jobs that you're going to apply for, what's needed, what needs to be in that resume and stuff like that. When it comes to a reel, right, what's the first couple of things that you want to see in a reel?
So if I'm talking to a reporter, then the reporter needs to show me the diversity of the things that they can cover. So there's going to be a montage, perhaps, in the first couple of seconds of that reel that just give me a slice of what it is you have done. If you haven't done it in real life, what it is you can do, what you think you can do. Showcase what you know about the news, like you've watched. Hopefully, if you're in there looking for a reporter job or an anchor job, you watch the news.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, if you're really being honest, you should be able to emulate your favorite anchor, emulate your favorite reporter who's doing it on a national level. And don't set your bar as high as people who are in the market that you're looking at. Set your bar 2 steps higher. And so what you're looking at is if you do a reel and your stand-ups look almost as good as the people who are on the TV at the place where you're interviewing, you've made a mistake. You're supposed to be the best one.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a reporter, you got to be the best reporter. I have to
Absolutely.
be moved by you. So it's again, same thing. 90 seconds is all I'm giving you. And that's generous. I'm going to look at the first thing on that first piece of video, 10 seconds max, to see if you have cadence, see if you have energy, see if you have a command of what it is you're trying to explain to people. And I can tell in 10 seconds. Anyone, to be fair, anyone watching television can tell in 10 seconds whether they want to keep watching. Think about that in your reel. It's hard to say it for everybody. If I was talking to a specific person, I probably could be a lot more particular. And the other thing about this, Tyrik, is I used to be a news director. Now I'm the general manager. I don't even get the reel until my news director has filtered through everybody else.
Okay. Got you. Wow, man. That's definitely some good stuff, because I think nowadays, I think they're like, I think when it comes to like doing, get on the job hunt and stuff, you got to get that resume right, got to get that reel right and stuff. And, sometimes people tend, like, especially like if you're just coming out of college, people tend to make a couple of mistakes, and stuff. And so it's good that we're doing this so that way people can learn about this, make adjustments.
People understand where you are. Once you tell me I'm coming out of college, I dial it down a bit. I'm not going to treat you the same as somebody who's coming out of Chicago.
Yeah.
But I'm going to still expect that you're the highest bar of the person coming out of college. I'm not going to if you assume you're going to get some grace, don't assume it. Everything you absolutely positively can do, make sure that you've done that for that reel. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of people feel, have you ever turned in a test and said, that's good enough? Or have you ever written a story or written an essay? If you're in college and you say, that's good enough,
I'm guilty.
Everybody's guilty of it. You get away with it in college because that's what you're amongst your peers. When you're trying to get a job, you have to show that you're a step above what I would expect. And first of all, it's that any mistake, any blemish, you've gone back to edit it, or you completely edit it out. Why would I have a stand-up that's not that great when I know I want you to see that stand-up, right? Because I think this part of it is great, but the rest of it is not as great.
Yeah.
I don't need to see the rest. What do I care if I see the rest of it? If you had a great part, show me the great part.
Yeah.
And be smart enough to not show me the bad part.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to show me the bad part there, you're going to show me the bad part on my air, and I don't want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
It's a mindset.
Yeah. Good tips, man. Good tips, man. Like, this is great, because this is Navigating Journalism podcast. So navigating the journalism industry, that's what it's all about. And then learning this stuff, so valuable in, getting a job and stuff. So definitely appreciate you sharing that. Want to shift gears a little bit here. Want to talk about you specifically, want to learn about you. So WJCL, how did you get to that position?
So I worked for a wonderful company, Hearst Television, for more than 20 years. My first job was in Mississippi. I graduated from Mississippi State. Worked at a smaller station there in Columbus, Mississippi, before I went to Jackson, Mississippi, which was my first Hearst job as a producer. And I produced there a couple of years before Hurricane Katrina happened. And then after Hurricane Katrina, I actually moved to New Orleans as a producer, as a morning producer that time, and got a lot of experience there in what I would call a life-changing event for the community. But for me as a journalist, the type of event that explained to me how important the job is. And it kind of, it shined light on why I was there. As a journalist, not why I was there in New Orleans, but what the purpose is of the thing we do. which is to get people information when they desperately need it and try to make sure that it doesn't waste their time at all. Because people in New Orleans after Katrina didn't have time to waste. And so it's such an important moment. I was there for Katrina during it. I was living in Jackson. So Katrina actually took the lights out in Jackson for 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 weeks. But the people who were working at our New Orleans station had to evacuate to Jackson.
Wow.
So I watched during Katrina what was going on with the families of these journalists who lived in New Orleans who couldn't go back to their homes. So the only place they could get information was where we were. We were what I was learning. The thing is that we're supposed to be. We were the information when they needed it most. So that was, I think that's a key in my life. Got to work in New Orleans and Jackson. Then I got a great job working with who I like to consider a big mentor of mine, Anzio Williams, at KCRA in Sacramento.
Oh yeah, Anzio, shout out to him.
And yeah, I got a lot. I worked there as a 6 p.m. producer. I worked as a 10 p.m. producer. I worked as the executive producer of a Raiders sports pregame show. And then I left there to become the assistant news director back in Jackson.
Okay.
Because I was very familiar with that place, and my parents and family lived there. And then I became the news director there, news director in Milwaukee, and then I moved from Milwaukee into this role of general manager here in Georgia. So,
wow. Well, congrats, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I want to ask you this too, because like me personally, and I got to share this with you, right? I'm scared of hurricanes, which is why I did not take a coastal position.
Okay.
I'm afraid of hurricanes. How are y'all not scared of hurricanes? How do y'all be out there covering these storms? Because it looks scary to me.
They are scary if you don't pay attention to the news.
Yeah.
The news will the news will save your life. And the news people, we prepare. I was in Katrina, I was in Gustav, Ian recently. All these hurricanes happen. The beauty of a hurricane is that, it's God's work, but ultimately...
You said the beauty of a hurricane?
The beauty of a hurricane is that it's slow. It tells you where it's going. It gives you a chance to react.
Yeah.
There are things like tornadoes that they have beauty too, but tornadoes happen, and you don't know that they happen, and they happen everywhere.
Yeah, they happen fast.
So if you where are you going to hide? You can't hide. So a hurricane is something that at least you have a running chance of. When I was in Milwaukee, blizzards is what you deal with. When I was in California, earthquakes and wildfires. Everywhere's got its thing. Hurricanes are something that mean everything to the community. It means everything to the community that you understand them and that you give them the same thing, the information that they can use to get themselves out of harm's way, protect their property, save their families, figure out the communication. So once you've done that a couple times, the fear goes away because you're really, really in the middle of it. You're working so hard. There's no time to fear it. Mm-hmm. But really, we figured out what we need to know in order to survive it.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. I'm still scared though.
Don't be scared. If you ever get caught up in the zone, lots of people are.
Yeah.
Most of them know how to weather that storm.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I need to talk to some of the locals down there and get some tips.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. I'm gonna close it out in just a sec. I do want to talk to you about this though. So, being a black journalist, right? Mm-hmm. You're definitely I know you're a veteran, you're definitely a mentor to a lot of other, black journalists and stuff. Can you talk to me about what is a mentorship moment that you've done that has been the most impactful?
Wow. The most impactful? Yeah. There's so many. Jeez. I hate to speak, you know what I mean? I'm almost giving away people's personal stories. I'll say this. I think the idea that people sometimes don't understand their capabilities. What makes me feel best is that, I'm tough. I scrutinize a lot. I'm to the letter. And what I do is I want to put myself in it and say, the mentor I mentioned, Anzio, he said something to me once that has always stuck with me. He said, I'm giving you the shortcuts so you don't have to go the long way that I did to get to where I am. And he was moving fast.
Yeah.
He was showing me shortcuts to do things that were working against me that I thought were great. Yeah. He'd show me the shortcuts, say, take it out, because that's holding you up from getting to the next thing. So that's what I feel like I've been able to do. And that's why I said I don't want to just put people's names out there. Yeah. With people who I can recognize something that they're doing that's just holding them up and say, look, I'm going to pull this out of the way. That's a door.
Yeah.
You had the door closed. And I think that's, it's a responsibility. I think when you continue what you're doing right now and you continue to meet people, and you're going to meet the people who've graduated after you and now have the opportunity to give them 2 years of the game and show them a shortcut to something you worked for 4 months for. They should only work for 4 weeks because you know all the things that were hard for you. Eliminate that for them. Say, don't do that because this is the way I got around that. That's what's going to create what we need as a community, as the National Association of Black Journalists has always, that's their charter, that's their purpose, to be able to show the ways for young people who are interested to be successful. Not just to get into it, but to be successful in this business.
Wow, that's a fantastic note to close it out on, man. That was great. Yeah, show people the shortcuts, man. Hey, listen, pave the way for somebody else, pave it forward. It's all about that. Yeah, man. So I appreciate you so much for this. Also appreciate the work that you've been doing, man, within, with what you're doing, of course, within the NABJ short course, and of course all the other mentorship you've done. You've been great. Yeah,
it's a pleasure.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure to watch you. Watching you shine has been just one of the things that makes me smile every time I see you.
I appreciate
Keep
that.
the work up, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Guys, don't go anywhere, or actually you are about to go somewhere. But we will catch you guys next time on another episode of NJP, broadcasting next week, Sundays at 5. See you then.